Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Not Another Rangers podcast. It's your Friday night edition. It's May the 30th, and I'm your host, Gary. Tonight, it's the dawn of a new era, the American takeover. We now have new ownership, star-spangled banners and all, as we look forward to a bright new dawn after, 10, 12, 13 years of hurt, and with a few glorious moments in between. So, if you've been like us, you've probably watched every single podcast, watched STV, BBC, Sky, and News, and so I'm not going to tell you we're going to add anything new to the table, but we've got three middle-aged guys sitting talking about Rangers for an hour and talking about some of the future and some of the positive. That's the best we can offer you. They're not necessarily in-depth profiles, Andrew Kavanagh and Predrag Marathi and all these ones, but we will try and cover it as best we can. And put questions in the comments. We will try and pick up some of them as well. But it's a great day. Do you know, it's an exciting day. It's been a long time coming. It's been 4 months maybe since it was announced, maybe 8 months in conversations, and finally ratification and approval came over the last couple of days, and we are now under American ownership. How are you this evening, Ricky?
Oh, good, mate. Absolutely excited. You know, I'm the one that always speaks about feelings. Your emotions and feelings being a Rangers supporter, and today's been it feels big, really big. You know, as soon as we knew it was coming, it was bizarre. We all knew it was coming, but to actually, there's been so much clickbait the last couple of weeks. So to actually hear, okay, 1 o'clock it's going to get announced. There was early releases, and then to actually see it on the screen from Rangers was super exciting. So. I'm very happy, mate, and let's go. Let's get fired into this. It's going to be exciting.
And Ricky always uses the "let's go" term now when we're going to talk about Gerrard No coming later on at some point. I'd imagine it always reminds me every time you say it. Scott, it's been a big day for the Rangers family, as I say. How are you?
I'm all right, Gary. It's been good. We knew it was coming, but it's good to see the takeover has now been completed there, because must have sold enough season tickets for it to be completed, but we knew it was happening, didn't we? I know people said it wasn't happening, but deep down you kind of knew it was happening. These guys didn't come to Ibrox February last year to nobody really involved, and they wanted to be part of the club. And Kavanagh and that other chap, I can't pronounce his name, somebody might try, Parag Marag, what I call him, but I mean, they're involved because they want to be involved. They're involved because they see something about the club, they see something about the fan base, the team. They see is that they can put their own money in, but they could also take it further. I mean, these guys aren't here just to make up the numbers. They're here because it's a business to them, but they're here because they can make something off it. Do you know what I mean, Gary? And you see the amount of clubs worldwide it's getting took over and money invested in them, and the Americans aren't stupid. I know they sound stupid at times and they do stupid things, and everybody does, but they wouldn't be taking us. Well, I know they've got 51%. It could be more, because never know what they'll do, but they wouldn't be putting a lot of money into Rangers if they didn't think there was something they could do with it. It might be 3, 4, 5 years before it comes to fruition, right enough, but I'm excited. I'm just excited to have owners, Gary and Ricky, we can maybe look forward to and say, like, they're no fans like us, like, because that's the tune we used to always get fed. We're fans like you, blah blah blah. And it made you kind of believe them more, but they didn't have the funds to go where their heart wanted to go. But these guys have, but they're not going to be room with their heart, they're going to be room with their head. So hopefully that's a more sensible option for us.
Oh, definitely. And we're going to cover a lot of that tonight. I think, you know, I was thinking about it earlier on. So, is this our 5th time in ownership in 50 years? So, from Lawrence Marlborough to David Murray's 28 plus years to the chancellors that were Charles Green and Mike Ashley. Before 10 years ago, we were taken over by King, Bennett, Parks, and AO, and all the other ones that went with it. So, and now we move into the new American era. So, during that time, with lots of challenges, not least the last 13 years. But so hopefully we are looking at something more akin with the David Murray era, maybe not the EBT part of it, but certainly the success that we had over that time. I suppose, you know, we've now got, just to pick up some of the bits that people already know, I'm sure, because if you're a Rangers fan, you've already looked at this. So Andrew Kavanagh will now be the chairman. Parag Marathi will be the vice chairman, and he's the chairman of Leeds, if I'm right. There's 3 other Americans came on the board, as well as George Taylor and who's the other one? John Halstead remaining on the board, with Fraser Thornton moving from chairman to board member, non-executive board member. So we've lost. I think we've lost now. There's certainly, I mean, Graham Park. You've obviously John Bennett's got rid of his shares, as has
Yep.
Dave King. So
King, obviously, but he wasn't on the board, yeah.
Alistair Johnson.
Alistair Johnson.
Johnson
Alistair Johnson.
as well.
I thought he'd probably stayed because he was American and probably linked to a lot of these global sports firms. That was slightly interesting, although he's been there for decades, way back in David Murray's time.
Yeah.
So 5 Americans, Ricky, like you said before we come on, 5 that are now running the show and full control with a couple of Scots littered to kind of help maybe give that regional expertise.
Yeah, no, professional people, mate, and I'm glad the people that are remaining on the board from the Rangers side, because that's the ones that are probably still not suffering from fatigue and they still want to invest, so that's great. And yeah, no, I mean, as I said, we spoke before we came on air, but to be honest, the White Knights, they've called themselves when they came rolling in, but let's be honest, Rangers has been a bowling club since 2013. They didn't really have, since King left, I know that King is like, you could speak about him a whole podcast on his own, but it's exciting to get these Americans in, get some professionalism. The main thing for us, like, I'm excited about the money, but when I look at these people that are coming in, I'm more excited about the fact that we could, for the first time in years, have a proper structure in place from people that know what they're doing, that are going to take us in one direction, and then this direction is going to lead us to success, because it's not about winning 56. And people will go, oh yeah, of course it is, but it's not. It's about getting back to long term, be competing for trophies every single season and being the dominant club in Scotland that we should be. I know people, you said it yourself, like, I mean, I think that Celtic are very, very catchable, but we've just lacked. I mean, we've went from different types of managers. One minute we've got a director of football, the next minute we don't have a director of football. The manager's bringing in players, chairman's bringing in players. It's been an absolute shit show since 2013. So hopefully now, I mean, if you noticed today, I've already mentioned it's going to be a head coach. So the days of having that figurehead manager at Rangers are probably over, which is good, because we're going to be brought into the modern world, because that's the way that the big clubs do it now. So that to me would be leaning towards Ancelotti, but I know you're going to go mad because I'll take the whole podcast forward. But no, it's just exciting to have something new, something fresh. And Kavanagh's obviously putting these other Americans in the boardroom for a reason. So as a team, as a unit, they must feel that this board has got different pieces to it. We always speak about the jigsaw and the pieces and stuff like that. So let's hope finally we've got it right. And we deserve 10 years of excitement, Gary. It's been tough. It's tough listen, we love doing this podcast, but it's tough doing this podcast having to be negative all the time because of what you're watching on the park and all the stuff that's went on. So hopefully now NARP is going to be a positive pod going forward, and we can get this rebuild show on the road.
Certainly, I'd imagine until the 23rd of July at the very least, it's going to be positive as bringing new managers and new signings and all stuff, and then it may turn back to normal, but hopefully not. Just stick with you, Ricky, then just briefly before I come to Scott. I think the big takeaways from the statement were certain the thoughtful decisions. I think was some of the language used. Thoughtful decisions, the £20 million investment through the share issue, and ensuring financial sustainability. That was kind of the 3 big elements that I remember through the statement. I suppose just your take on those comments?
Yeah, no, I mean, the comments, we spoke before we came on air about the money thing. I don't think that, maybe it was a bit naive to mention an actual number of that 20 million, because then I know that they're American, they like to be big and brash and stuff like that. I would have probably just said there's going to be heavy investment in the first team squad, because you don't want to put all your cards on the table, to be honest with you. But anyway, no, everything else was great. I love the head coach. I love that it's going to be made up of different people. The board and everything they said today was exciting. I think probably we will see a press conference with all these guys once they're all in the country and everything settles down. I think this has all been 100 miles an hour. So that's why today it was like press releases and stuff like that. But I think farewell will be in on Monday, and then we'll actually get to hear from these guys, which will be really exciting.
No, definitely. And Scott, same question, I suppose, to you. Do you know, as I say, they talk a lot about thoughtful decisions, making stability and strategy, and actually going for, not just all about making Rangers great again straight away, but doing it over a longer period of time, which was kind of what you want to hear. I know people want to see us win quickly, but it's part of the challenge over the last 10 years as we've been trying to do that probably too often and failing.
It has been, Gary. We've been we've been spending money over the years, but we've just not spent it wisely. And I think these guys aren't going to come in and say, "Right, here's a blank checkbook, on you go," because that's not the way to go forward. Listen, they've said they're going to be they're putting £20 million in, but that's on top of what the budget was already there, plus any player sales, etc. So it could be quite a lot of money. But as you know, and Ricky knows, and everybody else watching, it's not how much money you have; it's how you spend it. And people have been great at spending over the past few seasons. Some of their signings have been poor, and I'm not meaning they're poor footballers, but for some reason when they come to Rangers, they don't do very well. So we have to make sure we get the manager and the coaching staff spot on as best we can, and then try and build for there. But yeah, I mean, next season, like I said, even before this was completed, as long as we're challenging, as long as we're challenging for the league and maybe try and win a bit of silverware as in the cup wise, but the League Cup or the Scottish Cup, I'd be happy with that. Obviously, we want a lot more, but I'm not expecting miracles. But it's good to see us back in a stable footing with the board wise, because that's always been an issue. And it was never an issue when we were growing up. It was one of these things I looked at. I mean, I seen the day when they came out and they said about the board, they were putting out like all the picks of the members of the board and telling their history and stuff like. We never ever seen that before. Used
Yeah.
to be actually you get for players. You don't get that for board members. When I was younger, I couldn't even have told you who sat in the Rangers board because it was never a thing that really come up. But now it's like people want to know these things. It's just the way football's went. But I'm excited, Gary. But it will take time. But as long as I can see the club moving forward, and even if it's a small way, then I'll be happy with that. I don't want us to stagnate like we've been doing.
Yeah. I suppose when I was growing up and you were growing up, Scott, you know, and Ricky yourself, Joe, there was no such thing as a board. There was David Murray as the head honcho, you know, for that 25 years. The rest of the board were irrelevant.
And he was Gary. He was the king of the moonbeams, man. He loved an interview. But to be fair to Murray, back in the day, he did used to get you excited every time he spoke. But he absolutely loved the media with his big, massive statements about what Rangers were going to do, and that's not what we need from these people. We need to see. They need to give us tangible things that can be reached and actually deliver on the promises that they make.
I was listening to Super Scoreboard for the first time in a long, long time, because I don't really bother with it. But there was a fan from the other side of the city saying about if Rangers put a fiver down, we'll put a tenner. When that old David Murray legendary line that he used. So I think that there's already a little bit of fear there. I think it's fair to say. I suppose, Ricky, then, so my question would be to you know, what makes this different? I mean, obviously, I suppose last the question, what makes it different? Then can I give you some examples if possible?
No, good. It's a good question. So, what makes this difference to me? I said this about the Leeds. You see the Leeds supporters, the way that I mean, football fans, we get a bad reputation, but we're not as daft as what people think. You know, we can see through people right away. So, Parag Maraf went into Leeds United. He was vice chairman, so he wanted to learn about football for years and years, and he studied Leeds as vice chairman, and then when he eventually got in, everything that the Leeds fans they're absolutely blown away by these guys. If they were just coming in with only the background of the San Francisco 49ers American football team, you would maybe be a little bit more sceptical about it, because you don't know how their skill set would transfer over to our sport. But you've seen how they've done at Leeds, and you see it all with analytics and like Ibrox. Jesus, man, there's a stadium in the UK that could do an absolute architect to work some magic on it and bring it back to life. It's Ibrox, apart from obviously the main stand, and what their plans for Leeds United are absolutely sensational. So you can see them doing that here, because they want their money. They'll want that money from the people that are on this 19k waiting list. So they'll want to expand Ibrox and stuff like that. So they're not just coming in. It's weird how it'll be interesting to hear why they want to invest in Scottish football and stuff like that. It's for the passion, and they'll say it's for the passion and the way that they support the club and stuff like that. But for me, they've got tangible results, whatever. They know what they're doing. They're serious people. You can tell by Felwell has really impressed me with all the digging I've done since he's been appointed as well. So I like the people that they're putting in position. So, but listen, mate, you hit the nail on the head. The proof will be in the pudding. Me personally, I'm saying this now, I'm going to give them time, because I think this needs time, right? But Rangers fans are Rangers fans, will never change, you know. These guys are not going to get 5 years and we're sitting in the same position as we are now. They have to hit the ground running, and we need to see progress, and I'm sure we will. So that, for me, gets me excited, Gary.
And Scott, do you know what I mean? I think that, I mean, we've had Mike Ashley, the billionaire, in charge at one point in time, or in the background. We've had the fifth richest people in Scotland in these deals, heavily involved at certain points of time. And we've obviously had, for the last 10 years, Rangers men, as they'd like to call themselves, many, many times in charge. So what, for you, what is it that makes it different? Is it, as Ricky says, the fact they've got a proven track record in sport? Is it the fact that they're American? Is it the fact they've got Donald Trump's phone number? Is it the fact that they've got a global sports brand that they can tap into? What is it that makes it different to you than the previous false dons?
Probably everything you've just said there, Gary, but just for the fact that they've got a track record, but they've got the funds behind them. The guys that come in, listen, the boys that come in before and help put the club back, you have to give them a lot of credit, but they could only take it as far as they could because their wealth doesn't outweigh the wealth. But we actually need in football nowadays. I mean, that's what basically football is all about. You know yourself, the money it's generated in Champions League games is totally different for Europa League, and even winning the league, you don't get a lot in Scotland, but you get a lot elsewhere. And we need guys who've got a bit of money. Now, I'm not saying money's going to change everything because it doesn't, but because it always team-wise it comes down to how you spend it. But everything else, I think, are going to improve because they know Rangers are well known around the world. We all know that. I mean, you can sit in here and argue with me, but you probably not be able to prove that. We're known all worldwide just because we're a massive football club and we've got a big, massive fan base. Everywhere you go, you'll find a Rangers fan. Doesn't matter. It may only be one, but you will find a Rangers fan. And I think they can see that, and they can see there's sponsorship deals that they can make on like the stadium, on different things. But they can sell. You just have to look at the way Ryan Reynolds, another chap, done with Wrexham. I mean, Wrexham are a very small club, but they've sold them to America. I mean, if these guys can do the same with us, the sponsorship deals, the marketing values, it can soar. And our fan base eclipse what Wrexham has got. I mean, you could probably put that Wrexham's fan base into, I don't know, you couldn't fit that in Ibrox probably, but do you know what I mean? It's frightening what they could do, but it's just to have guys that know what they're doing, Gary. I mean, a part of the 49ers group, you're not part of that group if you don't know what you're doing. It's not like a fly by night thing. It's just started up. They've been going for years and years and years, and they're an organisation that knows what they're doing, to be honest with you. And I just like the fact that they didn't have to get involved with us. There's a lot of other football teams out there, or sports teams that they could get involved with, but obviously they got involved with Leeds, and then they must have either seen us on TV or been in contact with somebody, and they've come up and they've been watching us for a while. They like to see what Rangers offer. They like the stadium. They like the structure of the club, and they think there's someone here we can work with and grow this and take it further than it's ever been. And I think that's what they're planning to do. It might be slow, it might not be immediate, but I think we have to trust them. And like I say, they won't spend willy-nilly. And that's good for me because I don't want to constantly spend 40, 50 million a season because that can get you into trouble nowadays. Not, do you know what I mean? Because we can't bring in that finance unless you get any sponsorship deals like other clubs have for your owners and stuff like that. But I'm happy with the new guys coming in. Listen, we could spit here next month and I'll criticise them after the transfer window shuts. Do you know what I mean? But at this moment in time, I'm happy with it. I think they had to be. I think you mentioned it, Gary, over the last 10, 12 years, it's not been great. There's been a lot of downs more than there have been ups. And it's just getting everybody in a steady footing again at the club behind the scenes. And then it can transfer to the park. Because I know the players say it doesn't affect them, but it must. Because you're in the same building. You see all that, you hear all it going about. So it must affect you day to day. But I'm just actually happy we've got the deal done. Because like I said, it was kind of dragging on. Now it's just a manager to get in place, Gary. And like I said before, no matter who we appoint as manager, me, you and Ricky could argue about it because it might not be who we want.
Yeah. And just to see a comment from Robert.
Well, Gary, I think it's the Champions League. It must be the Champions League. It's like they must see it as a...
So, Ricky's frozen there. So, Champions League keeps talking about it, but it does, I think as Robert says, the point is that they're around Europe. So one of the things that Rangers offers is guaranteed European exposure, Scott, in it, and it gives you that automatic TV exposure that probably don't. You get the Premiership obviously release when they come into it, but across the whole of Europe's probably a good campaign to look at because you can't necessarily.
I mean, you've got the English Premiership game, like you say, Gary, but you know yourself, the Old Firm game, me play them, that's watched everywhere. People have everywhere trying to that game, and they might not think our league's a great standard and stuff like that, but Rangers Celtic games are watched worldwide, and they see the potential as well. Do you know that way? So these people aren't daft. I know I've said that a few times, but they're not going to come up here for no reason. They see something in the club. They see something. It's good exposure for the Scottish game as well, because I think the Scottish game needs well upgraded. It needs totally looked at as well. But that's good exposure for the game. But in the league, it's something like that. But it's great for us. It's great for us, and like I say, it might not kick off running, or it might take time. But I'm sitting here very happy it's happened.
And I suppose looking at it, what they said, they paid 75 million to buy Rangers. What I don't know, and I don't understand, will probably come out in the next few days, is all the loans and the money that was owed to all Bennett, all these other ones, that still sitting on the books at the moment and will have to be paid off over the years. I don't really know how the structure of it. Nobody's really got through the financial side yet. But 75 million to buy the club, a 20 million rights issue, which is going to bring in that level of investment. And just a comment for Sniper there. Sorry, Gary, do you like my profile picture? This is a live show. I think he was about 2 foot taller, smaller than me there. So he's obviously just remembered that there. So the fact that we've got the money, 20 million coming in, and 20 million pounds, as you say, is not in signings alone. It's not in terms of it's an investment, but there is still obviously lots of financial sustainability required. So you're not just going to fling money to it. There's financial fair play. There's all sorts of other things involved. We need to generate more income, and that has to be done through Europe and through Champions League and through some greater, I suppose, American other sponsorship deals.
I think you'll get sponsorship deals. I think you'll see that happening. I think you will see that, and you'll see some other stuff going. Listen, they could be naming rights to the stadium, and I know that doesn't appeal to a lot of people, but to me, to you, to probably everybody else, it's always going to be called Ibrox to us. You can name it. You can name it the 49ers, whatever. You can name it some vodka stadium. You can name it after a whiskey. You can name it after anything. But to us, it's always going to be Ibrox. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's the way sometimes they do things. In America, they put their names in everything. They put something in everything. So, listen, if that can bring in revenue, that's great, because I'm not saying revenue solves every problem, but it helps at times. It helps for the team, but also helps for if they want to expand or if they want to do anything else to the stadium. Because I know they were thinking about, weren't they, Gary, talking about maybe expansion at some point, or put in new seats or something, so they could look at that. Because I know, listen, if we've got a good team in the park, people are going to go. People go anyway, Ibrox, you know, like yourself, and there's always some games you can't get tickets for. So even if they manage to bring in extra seats at some point, I look at it, you would fill it, because once Rangers start winning, people will go, because people go just now and we've been very successful over the years. So, but if we started to win again, more people would be at attend. So I think it's a 1-1 for us, but it's also for them.
Yeah. And my apologies for those viewing. Ricky disappeared off. He's the most excited he's been in weeks now, and he's fell off the podcast. I'm absolutely gutted for him. So hopefully he comes back soon. Poor soul. I suppose pick some of the other bits around the takeover. Then Patrick Stewart remains as chief executive. He's probably the slightly checkered first 6 months with the Rangers fans, but it's obviously seems clear to me, and always did, that he was part of the 49ers group to some degree, and he was always going to be the chief executive afterwards. But there was a lot of criticism and a lot of mention about we want him gone once the takeover happens. Your thoughts on that?
I just think it's some of the things they came out and said, wasn't it, regarding maybe tifos and etc., and the way he jumped rank on the other players and on some players or other fans. But when things happened the other way, he didn't come out and defend the fans. So I think he has to box cover. I think if he keeps doing that and you get the fans on your case, it's never a great time for you, and it's never a good show, because the board will look at that and think, well, we can't have this guy here because the fans they totally detest him. But listen, I don't know if he was told to say it. I don't know if he said it off his own back, but the tifo thing is nonsense for me. But it has been what it has been. Obviously, I want to keep him because he knows his stuff, doesn't he? He's been about football for a lot of years, and he knows how clubs run poorly, because he was at Man United for a long time. But obviously, you know how clubs run well as well. So, and you say he's been brought in probably off them as well, because they've been involved. I'm not saying pulling strings at Rangers, because until the takeover happened, but they've been here, there, and maybe saying, right, we want him in, and it's kind of happened. So I thought he was always going to stay anyway. I was never one for thinking he was going to go. I always thought when they brought him in, it's too big a name and too big an ego to come in for 6 months for me, because he could probably been elsewhere. So I thought once he came in, he was always going to stay. But like I say, maybe bring somebody in to deal with media and let Patrick do something else.
And I suppose that's it. You know, the idea being, as you talked about earlier on, nobody needs to know the board of the chief executive. Martin Bain was the chief executive, was Per Suntan back in the days when David Murray was was there, but
Who was the guy, security officer back there? Remember, he used to pull everybody up. He wasn't great.
I can't remember. No, McIntyre. No, I can't remember. Was it McIntyre or something? I can't remember.
He was always. Remember, he used to get if you touched the fence, the enclosure, he was always the first. You get a letter sent that to you. Don't go near that. You're climbing the fence when he scores. Nonsense like that. I can't remember who that was now.
I know. Somebody might remember in the comments. I suppose the other big one.
I'm going to say who that was. Aye.
Was it Hood? Oh, Ricky might be on his way back there, so waiting to add him back. Hopefully he's rejoined us.
You stuck to him, Bob the meter, Ricky.
God knows what happened there, mate. Absolute killer, man. Oil companies need to get better Wi-Fi, man. Honestly, shocking.
We've been that excited all day, and then we were kicked off the pod. That was disappointing. I'll come at you then.
Someone in the comments puts Big Surrey Odessas has pulled the plug, mate. He's had enough of me giving him abuse.
He's too busy scoring goals for Nigeria at the moment, is he not? To even bother with you, Ricky. But, so we were talking about Patrick Stewart there, but I'm going to move on to Coppin. The other one, I've heard a few comments now that as if they expected when they took over that Niels Coppin would be walking the door with his wee bag. There's been some suggestions that I suppose surprised that he's staying, but I don't think there's any big change going to happen straight away anyway.
Yeah, but Patrick Stewart is heavily involved still, so I think that Patrick Stewart has been the link, you could probably say, for the last 6 months or however long he's been in the club, so he'll be advising them, okay, is this guy competent, can he do this, You've got to remember, they demoted him as soon as they came into the club, so as soon as they came into the club, they could say, what the hell's this guy doing this job for? He was a chief scout at PSV, and suddenly, so listen, these guys have got all that taken care of. So if they think Coppin is useful for the project that they're going to bring to Rangers, he will still be at Rangers. If they don't, and it's like people think that like scouting is like it was 10 years ago. It's a complete different ball game nowadays, mate. You've got all these
manager anymore, not just football manager.
You've got all these absolute geeks sitting there, your John Walkers of the world and stuff like that are like total in the weeds and like looking at players from everywhere. Every single club is trying to find a bargain. Every single club is trying to find the next Fashion Sakawa or players like that. Every club are the next Igaman and stuff like that. So every club's trying to find these gems. So it's totally different now. So if they think Coppin is experienced and good enough to sit in the committee, it's not going to be like it was under the last board. So we'll have to trust these guys. Mate, they've just taken over today, right? You've got to trust that the decisions that they're going to make is for the good of the football club. So if they think Coppin is okay to stay, there's no point in us getting upset about everything right away and giving them, what's he doing? What's he doing? You've got to trust them, let them get on with it, let them get a new manager, see what players we're going to be bringing in, blah, 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 and then let's see how things progress as the season goes on. But I agree it's going to take time. But I actually think we're in quite a lucky position with our rivals across the city because I think they're coming to an end of a cycle with the players they've got. So I think this is a good time for us to get our shit together and get the club sorted out. And I think we can build. We should. For me, if you ask me what success is in the first season, I want us to be, obviously the cups and stuff like that, but I want us to be going to the split next season and the league not be over. For me, that's a successful first season. If we go into the split at the end of next season and we're still involved in some capacity in a title race, for me, I'll class that as a successful first season.
No, definitely. And I suppose what I wanted, before we move on to things like the manager and stuff like that, can I want to talk about the old board a wee bit, right? So, and the old board's a bit of a broad term, because it's 10 years probably since March 2015, and if I remember rightly, was that the time in the gazebo? I might be wrong, iBooks, it might have been the gazebo time, but 10 years in power, they did inherit a messed up business, it's fair to say. During that time, we've built Edmiston House, done disabled facilities in Copeland, we have, I suppose, improved Ibrox and what do we call it? Don't call it Murray Park anymore, do we? But Auchenhoe, or whatever it's called, Rangers Training Centre, I can never remember the term it's called. Reached a European final, won a league, won a Scottish Cup, won a League Cup, and lots of failed signings, lots of mistakes. But I suppose there's also been COVID during that. I mean, COVID probably hit Rangers harder than it hit MD at that time. I think 60-70% of our sales come from season tickets. And there's been a lot of mitigating factors. I suppose I'm just interested, when you look back over the 10 years, I kind of think history might be relatively good to them and years to come. Obviously, it's all about titles, and that's the big issue. But there's been a lot happened over that 10 years, and maybe as we reach the end of the cycle, we forgot some of the positives.
No, you're right, Gary. They saved us for a shit show when they came through the door, didn't they? Because we weren't going anywhere under the previous ones before them. And it was Charles Green involved in that, and Mike Ashley, and you see these deals. They saved us for an absolute shit show. But listen, you look back and you can look at the positives. They've done okay, but in my opinion, they could have done better. Some of the manager choices weren't great, and that's what happens. But you're not getting a lot of football guys on board. You've got maybe fans on board, and Bennett came out and saying in one of his interviews, I remember, this is the best team that's been here for a while and stuff like that. It's, you don't talk with your heart, you talk with your head, and that's what the new owners will probably do. But listen, I'm not going to slag them off because, like I say, they saved us at the time we needed them to do that. They put in a lot of their own money to help us through periods when it was hard, and so I'm not going to sit here and criticise them. But I think their time has probably could have came quicker. But listen, if you say to me this time last year we were going to get American owners, I'd just say don't talk nonsense. Because I didn't like anybody wanted to invest in the club. It never, I mean, there's never any rumours, anything. That we're always saying we're looking for investment, but it was just always rumours and nothing really else, nothing concrete. And then this just happened. So fair play to them. They had to. I think their time was up. I think they'd done what how they could have gone to get any further, and it was. I was glad to see the new guys in, but no, fair play to them for what they did when they came in. I still think they could have done probably better than they did, but fair play to them.
Yeah, no, I'll come at you, Ricky. Probably the same thing, but I mean, when history there's always lots of different factors and twists and turns of the road where things would work. If you win, if Gerrard beats Malmo, you get a Champions League, things change. If COVID doesn't happen, all sorts of other things that could have worked and didn't work. But the last 3 years, I've certainly seen a poor show.
Yeah, well, it's two stages. You have to sort of look at it two stages. So when they came in, Dave King was heavily involved, and like I love how he is the master. He's like that guy that bends the spoons with the truth, the way that he tells the story, you know, because the way he was going on about last week about Gerrard, like, it was like, mate, you created that mess. You appointed Warburton, then you appointed Pedro. And Pedro Casinho, what the board were playing at that point was absolute madness when they gave him the job, you know. But okay, they were in the football club. They were still spending a lot of money in the background, sorting a lot of stuff out. And Gerrard wasn't in. You can say what you want. I think I don't know why the Rangers fans give Gerrard such a hard time, because he came in. He says it himself. The club was like the dog and duck. But these guys backed, we spoke about it earlier, they probably backed Gerrard a little bit too much. The wage bill was too high. They threw everything at Gerrard, which was fantastic. And the Malmo game was a massive turning point. There was two things that happened that season. The 56 season, we'll call it, was the big disaster for everything that happened, because losing to Malmo was a complete disaster. We should have sold players like Morelos and Kent when they were at their maximum value after we won 55. And I know that fans don't want to hear that, but at least one of them should have been sold 100%. And then I always think we've been very slow to react to these Champions League qualifiers. It's always like, we'll see what happens and then we'll react. And it's very difficult. You should have your team in place for these Champions League qualifiers, and we never seem to do that. And then when Gerrard left after his big fallout with the Parks, again, that story's been sort of rewritten. That people have been saying last week that Gerrard, the only reason he left was because he fell out with the Parks. Listen, Gerrard got a massive offer from people he knew at Aston Villa, more money, closer to his family. You can't really dig the guy out for that, but that was massive, because I think we would have won the league that season, and then what would have happened with them with Postecoglou, you never know. But them managing to win that title back from us so soon, like the pack of cards was there to knock the deck down the way that King spoke about it. But when we handed back that title for 56, it was a complete disaster, and it just completely, it's like the pack of cards, actually, we were the pack of cards and Celtic weren't the pack of cards because the way what happened that season. And so for me, they spent a lot of money, but in a way, they were spending money to fix the mistakes that they kept making. It's like nobody took the bull. People tried, but it was all sort of half-hearted. And I'm surprised with the Parks because, like, they've been so successful in their businesses with what they've built and stuff like that. And they are massive Rangers supporters. Like, listen, these people are Rangers supporters, and it's easy as fans to say they should spend this money and do that with money. But it's very it's a lot more complex than what fans realise when you're actually in there with your own money and stuff like that. So time for me with Rangers is always going to be about trophies. So the fact that these White Knights, when we look back in their like 13-year period, it's going to be weird how we tell the stories, because it's a shame, because there's a whole generation of Rangers fans that have not seen us win anything, man. They think this is the normal, with Celtic winning trebles and like cups all the time, and it's not normal. So hopefully it's our time to get back to the 90s, man. Let's get back to the 90s and get back to winning everything again, and that would be good for us. So I mean, they tried their best, they spent money, but I don't think time is going to look back too kindly on this period of Rangers history. In fact, it's going to probably be one of our worst periods. And I'm not speaking about all the rubbish that went on before with like getting demoted and all that. I'm on about actually the last 13 years with the White Knights. I don't think it's going to be a very favourable period in Rangers history, and that's just because we didn't win any titles. One title, 3 trophies, no good enough, Gary.
No, I think that's an interesting one. I think that's a legacy will be the trophies, whereas I suppose for building a shambles of a club and getting the investment in this house, all those things won't matter because it was about the trophies in the end, and that's in some ways quite quite sad for them, because there was a lot of positive ideas, bad execution. I think we've said many times over the pod as well. I think that's been part of the problem. But that kind of moves us on to on Monday morning. Kevin Thelwell starts his new job as, sporting director, Scott? But I don't know what the job title is. I'm not sure. Is it sporting director, football director, whatever it may be? He starts on Monday, and then the new manager should follow shortly thereafter. So obviously you'd expect Thelwell to come in and do a bit of a media conference first. I'd be surprised if they announce a new manager there and then, because if it's me, you do these things in stages to keep the good momentum, positive momentum going. But it would make sense you wouldn't appoint a new manager until he's in the building.
Probably, Gary. Probably, but I want you manager appointed tomorrow. I just want it done and dusted. No, you just feel like that's just a football fan, isn't it? You just want things to come like that. You don't want to be waiting any longer. But no, I think he's probably been working behind the scenes as well. Gary, I know he gets appointed on Monday. He starts on Monday, but I think he's probably been doing stuff behind the scenes just because he knows he's coming and stuff like that. And listen, good luck to him, because he's going to need it, because we've not had a lot of luck in the last few seasons, so he's going to need a lot of luck. But I think he knows what he's doing. Hopefully he does, and hopefully we get a right manager through the door, because that's when, as soon as the manager comes in and his coaching staff, we'll have to get down to business, because it's no long before the European qualifiers are going to kick off again, and we have to get guys back into training and stuff like that. So we can't go with the same shitload of players we've got, because if we do, we'll be qualifying. So hopefully he comes in, he tells us, he makes his statement, he comes in and tells us what his focus is and what he's planning to do over the next couple of coming seasons, and then he comes out with, right, this is who the new management team is. Because I think that's all we want to hear, Gary. We don't want it to be longer, because it's now June, and I know football season's just finished, but in hindsight, windows, I think, is the window open for everybody? Is it just for everybody?
I think it's those just competing, the leagues that are competing in the Club World Cup, I think.
It's only for them, yeah.
Right, no, well, even that, I mean, we still have to look ahead of the transfer targets and see what players going out the door. There's players that's been out and loan going to come back. Are they going to go? I've heard Birmingham are interested in Dylan Davis, so hopefully that's right, and they come in with some offer for him. I don't know what it'll be, but whatever it is, you just take it, because two of them are on decent wages, and whatever else. But no, a new manager has to get in. I know there's been a few names been linked, and I think it's probably down to 3. But there's one I want, there's one I'm in the mind, but there's also one I don't want. So
come on, then, get off the fence, man.
We're going to go into that.
The names.
we're going to go into that. Do you know what I'm going to do is a shout out first to a podcast. Heart and Hand done a manager podcast yesterday, right? And it was really interesting. If you listen to David Idegger and David Marshall, they were talking about what you need from a Rangers manager. And if you've listened to it, it was really interesting. But one of the interesting things for me, it was about what you need from a Rangers manager: leadership, communication, obviously tactical nous, and the ability to gather respect, right? So, and obviously then, as Ricky says, it comes out today and says we're not looking for a manager, we're looking for a head coach, which arguably is a slightly different model than we've been used to as a club. And what Gerrard arguably was a manager rather than a coach. And interesting enough, he's withdrawn or something's happened that he's no longer in the running, despite being 2-15 in Sky Bet last week.
1 point, aye.
So, just I suppose your thoughts one on the style of manager, and secondly, I suppose on the Gerrard news that he's no longer in the running.
Well, we need a winning manager. We need a manager that wins football matches. Man, Scottish football is unique, but it's not that difficult to work out, Gary. Man, I mean, Jesus, the football we've been watching the last few seasons, mate, has been so turgid and slow. And I mean, we've got a bipolar team right now. I mean, you look when come in, we were winning all these matches. We had a chance of winning the title last year, and that's absolutely insane. And then this year, we only lost like Lundstrom and a few other players, and then we turned up this season, and we just went so far backwards. It was absolutely incredible. So,
unless you're for Celtic, Celtic.
I look how much points they've dropped since Christmas as well, and they're absolutely cantered the league. You need someone that knows that's going to win football match. I mean, listen, I'm all aboard the Ancelotti train. Like, I am choo-choo, full 100%, driving the train, get the petrol in it. Because the reason I love this guy is because people go on about, he's never managed before. Souness had never been a manager before. Walter Smith had never been a manager before. Like, all this guy's bringing in a team of specialists, like a proper coaching team that every single one, if people think that this guy is coming to Rangers and he's just going to be like, okay, let's see what happens. Let's see what players have got here. They are living in cuckoo land, man. This guy wants to go to the top. You imagine the passion and the heart and soul this guy's going to put into the Rangers manager's job, because his name, he knows how difficult it is with his name. It's not always easy when your dad is like the godfather of management, one of the greatest managers ever. Imagine having him on line B when you're asking about. I've got this weird looking kid who speaks Northern Irish. Dad, Gordon McCausland. What am I going to do with him? Nah, but it's great having that. So for me, I'm all aboard that train. Like, but I mean, Russell Martin is the one that scares me a little bit, because. But saying that, like, I sort of feel sorry for Russell Martin a little bit. I'll tell you why. Because is he any different from this Farioli? They sort of play the same, you know, like they play the same, like the goalkeeper, the defenders are in the box, and like it's inside the box, and you're trying to draw out the other team to create spaces and everything like that. Imagine trying to do that with Jack Butland, Suter, Tavernier, Yefty. If we're going to try and play that sort of football, then this takeover will be dead in the water before it even starts. So it's important that they get it right. And so I'm all aboard the Ancelotti train, me personally. And like you said, what kind of manager is it going to be? He brings in a structure, he brings in a team. I think what you have to say about the modern player, we speak about them being robots and stuff like that, and that sort of coaching has went way too far in football. But I think you need to give them stuff, because they need it. Like the modern player, the last sort of, like, especially the last 5 years, if you don't give them enough information to go out on the park, then they don't know how to think for themselves anymore, because that's the way they're coached, is from kids all the way up. So you need to give them that information. So the days of a Neil Warnock or like people like that just screaming at play, even Barry Ferguson, we can say, you just seen it, like even Barry Ferguson with that. It's brilliant having that passion and, okay, we're going to win today. This is, you're playing for Rangers and everything. But players, they're multi-millionaires. Even players that play for Rangers are multi-millionaires now. They don't listen to that garbage. Now it has to be, this is the structure, this is how we're going to play. And I just hope that whoever comes in is hard on the players, because all the problems that have existed with Rangers, we know what they all are. We've got too many injured players. We've got players that play far too many games because they have to, because they're let down by others in the squad. So we need an absolute cull of these players. It needs to be nuclear what the new manager does to the squad. And if he does that, then whoever he brings in will be excited. Ancelotti can hopefully bring in some Spanish gems. Imagine the players he's. I know we're going to laugh about Modric and
Modric.
stuff like that. I mean, Jesus, imagine him in Scotland. Stranger things have happened, mate. The guy's almost 40, but I don't know if he's got that much of a special relationship with Ancelotti, you know. He'll be getting offered mega money in America and Saudi and stuff, but let's see.
So, Scott, you said you've got your preferences of the three. Obviously, the third one that came out of nowhere yesterday, was it Farioli, who managed Nice and then managed at Ajax and took Ajax from fifth the previous season to almost winning them, blowing the league before he left a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I like Ancelotti, and the side it is the unknown, Gary, because I don't know what style he's going to play. I know, obviously, he was a coach at Madrid, and obviously, people think he's just there because he's dad, but his dad wouldn't employ him if he wasn't any good, put it that way. But because who his dad is, he's going to have to make a mark for himself to outshine his dad or come out for his shadows, and the guy will be trying so hard to do that. So, getting him as manager could be a good thing for us because he's not going to be at Rangers forever if he becomes manager because he want to make his step as so he can go to a bigger league and stuff like that. So that'd be good for us. But also, Faroli interests me. The only thing is his style is very similar to Russell Martin, which is pass. And I watched Southampton a few times and they tried it in the Premier League, but they didn't have the players for it at that level to who they're playing against. And I think what he should have done, Russell Martin, was went back more defensively because to try and stay in the league. And then the following season, when you can improve your squad of players, then put your style on it because that still works in the Championship, fine. But it's too big a step to do it in the English Premier League. So I'm not against Russell Martin if he was chosen. He's not my preference. But Faroli interests me because he's only 36, but he's quite experienced at that age, and he was a goalkeeping coach when he started. He wasn't even I was even a football coach, a goalkeeping coach. But he's kind of similar to Martin. It's pass with Ajax. But he's more a defensive manager. So I don't know how that would work with us because we're not really a defensive-minded team unless we're maybe playing in Europe. Do you know that way? So I don't really know. My choice at the moment is Ancelotti. I think they've probably spoke to a lot of managers, and as you know with the betting, as you know with the stories, and there's not been many stories. Everybody's said certain names and stuff like that, but nobody's ever hung their hat on one. Maybe sometimes Gerrard and Ancelotti, but it could be a left field appointment like Faroli. So you just don't know. But whoever it is, I hope he's in soon. I would like to see Ancelotti come in, but I do think every manager's going to be a gamble. But I think that's a huge gamble because there's going to be pressure on him because of who his dad is. Pressure on him because it's his first managerial stint, and you know yourself, if you finish second at Rangers, that's failure. And somebody saying I don't know who'll be number two. I'd like to see Stephen Davis come back to the club in some capacity. I think he will bring somebody from Madrid with him. I don't think he'll come himself. I think he will bring maybe one or two other Italian or Spanish coaches. Ricky's saying 5. He's in the know. He's in the know. But I think he will bring in maybe somebody else that knows the club. Maybe Stephen Davis. I know Big Duncan Ferguson's been mentioned. I think Dunk's happy down
He wouldn't
south.
come to Rangers, would he? I think he wants to stay down south.
I don't think he would.
But he came in Inverness, didn't he?
He did.
That's
but
the
I don't,
manager.
I wouldn't. See, Duncan Ferguson's a fantastic coach. He's a fantastic coach. Great to have on the training park, and maybe the manager stuff's he's at the wrong jobs, and he done okay with Everton. He done it a couple of times. He done really well there. But I think that was more put a lot of passion in because that's basically his team. But I think to have him in the training ground, I think Duncan Ferguson would be a massive appointment. I think it'd be a fantastic appointment as well. But I don't see it myself. But Stephen Davis, I think, might be back because he has been out in the paper saying he sees himself in making Rangers at some point in his career. So to come out and say that when there's no manager appointed yet, I'm putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5.
Yeah.
But You just never know. But I hope it's Ancelotti, but I wouldn't mind for Ole. Martin, I'm still kind of... Just because I've watched Southampton a few times, I can see what he's trying to do, but it wasn't working because of the opposition he was up against.
Do you think,
It's
Ricky, just
interesting. Sorry, just to kind of just come in what Kerr said. I think it's interesting. It just sort of clicked something in my head what he said there, Kerr. I sort of agree with the Ferguson thing because I think he could be. I'm not saying bad cop as in I know that he's not a ranter and stuff like that. He's actually quite calm as a coach, Ferguson. But I think that passion in the dressing room, because I think Ancelotti's got that like Spanish. You know, they're quite laid back and quite cool and. You know, I know he's Italian, but he's like.
That's what I was going to say. He's Italian.
But he's got 5. He speaks 5 languages. He's been in Spain most of his for years with his dad and stuff. But he's got that laid back sort of. So big dunk, like getting the players, that passionate the players. Whereas Steve Davis, I think, is a good idea. But Davis is quite laid back himself. Like he's the sort of guy that only speaks. When he speaks, you listen because you know that he's not just speaking for no reason. But maybe Ferguson would be a bit of a better fit because he has got a bit more passion about him. And I think our players need that. Or the players that we've got there just now certainly need that. They do need someone to get a bit. They need properly coached, but they need someone to give them a bit of passion as well, for sure.
No, definitely. I mean, I think whoever is the manager, if it's Ancelotti or Fariola or non-British, I suppose I would say you need some sort of identity with Rangers or with something there. Russell Martin, I suppose we could argue that he had a failed time at Rangers. He was a Scotland international, but you do need, certainly if it's Ancelotti, I don't think he'd come in with a full Spanish come Italian team of people and be able to just hit the ground running. You need some sort of Scottish or even Rangers identity with it, which is a challenge. And I suppose that's the big risk. That's also the big excitement. Do you think then, just Ricky, just last question on the manager? Only because I'm listening to everybody talk about Ancelotti. Do you think there'll be a real disappointment if it's not him? Another guy, yes. Whoever gets it is going to be quite starting the back foot.
If it's Fariola, I don't think it'll be as big a disappointment because I think you're sort of like you're actually bringing in something a little bit similar, but with a guy that actually. I mean, he was at Ajax last season. Ajax is a huge club, and he almost got them over the line, almost being the word. So I don't think there would be as big a disappointment with someone like that, with the excitement when coming in. He's young, so he's got that he's going to be like a young Jose Mourinho, strolling through the doors like this is what we're going to do. But I think if Russell Martin has announced it, honestly, I think just with the scar tissue, I think that fans will get behind it eventually, like I said. But I think if you, after the big build-up and Felwell's coming in on Monday and then we get to Wednesday and it's, I don't think it's going to be Russell Martin. I think it is, unless something complete left field happens over the weekend and like a massive club comes in and takes Ancelotti. I think he's actually been, you see the stories that have came out with Gail and Balogun and stuff like that. There's stories being leaked to newspapers about get a move on Rangers. So you can tell that he's doing that and he wants the job. So I think it is going to be Ancelotti. I would say pretty 80% sure. But if it is, I mean, Fariola, okay, but Russell Martin, it is going to be. And you saw that today. I saw people on X today saying, imagine it's Russell Martin because Leicester is, it looks like the Leicester job is falling through for him. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, we'll see.
And Mark said Gareth Southgate, he's not been linked, so I'm not even including him now. He might be linked next week. We'll see where it goes. Do you know, the thing is, no matter who it is, I mean, look at Graham Potter, right? Fantastic manager.
Exactly.
And he's a nightmare at West Ham at the moment. So it doesn't matter who you get.
You never know. Lampard as well at Coventry. We all say you need this, you need a Barry Ferguson, you need a Steve Davis, you need a Duncan Ferguson. There is no guarantees with anyone. It can be absolutely. And the other problem you have is if you get Ancelotti and he's absolutely amazing, the problem is he's only going to be here for 1-2 seasons max, and he's going to go on to a Premier League. We're fish swimming in that tank, and that Premier League is there. So they're sacking managers left, right, and centre. And if he does well at Rangers 1-2 seasons, Basounas was right all along. But if he does well, so 1-2 seasons, then he'll be off. So that's another game of jeopardy that you're playing. But at least for us, if he wins the title 2 years in a row and then he goes to England, then no problem. Well done.
I'd like to say, Gary, see the story that came out with Ancelotti. To me, that means he wants to be the manager.
He's pushing it.
He's pushing it, aye. So if that's the case, and we don't, what will the reason be? Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, to me, he spoke to him and he said, right, I want this, I fancy this. He's not went with his dad. Ballaghy's come out with this stuff, like a bit of clickbait when he mentioned Modric, where if you read the thing, Modric was never really going to come to Rangers, but he just mentioned it. But I think when you read it, you say to yourself, right, by all accounts, he's coming for Ancelotti's camp and he's really wanting his job. So if he doesn't get it, I like to know, I'll never know, but I like to know the reason why. Because you want to interview somebody and maybe say, no, you're not for me.
Aye.
It'll
And
be
that's
the
what gets us
experience,
trust
Kerr.
though.
It'll be the
Yeah.
board.
You knew
boardroom,
that, Ricky, but before they went in for him.
I know, but that's what. But the boardroom will probably, they're at the final interview phase. They've done the final interview with all the candidates, so they're all going to sit around as a
Who
boardroom.
do you
and
think's making the final decision? Do you think it's Thelwell, or do you think it's the full board, or do you think it's from the
I think
Kavanagh?
it's Kavanagh. Kavanagh's listening to
Stewart as well. I think
Kavanagh.
Stewart will.
Yeah, but I don't think Stewart. I think Stewart's more of a he's got an opinion and stuff like that, and he's been doing
I
the
don't think
interviews.
Patrick
But
Stewart. Oh no, I think he's merely just
no, I think it'll be Felwell and Stenson, and
I
Kavanagh
forgot
will
about
be.
Stenson. He looks a scary
Aye,
dude, Tim, doesn't he?
oh,
Stenson.
aye.
You wouldn't
I mean,
mess with him.
when he wanted to meet at 3 in the morning outside the dancing.
Definitely. I think, as you say, I mean, Ancelotti's certainly pushing it. Do you know, the one thing I would say, irrespective of who it turns out to be, it looks like from the outside there's been a bit of a robust process. It's not rushed into picking somebody. They've been through lots of different conversations, lots of investigations, and you just got to trust in the process. And people talk about Lampard and all these other ones. It's all right saying they went somewhere else and were a success. There's nothing to suggest they would have been at Rangers and been a success. You never really know. It's all easy in hindsight, easy to say these things. Winning with the proof of the pudding.
Comont was almost a success. He almost won the league.
Aye.
If he won the league, and it would have been he got an absolute tune out of these players, and then the wheels fell off. So, and
If
to
we
be
beat
fair
Celtic
to
League Cup
Comont,
final, we might still have been here as well if we get the right result on that.
to be fair to Comont as well, like what you have to say, he wasn't really backed in the last summer. You know, we chucked him under a bus. We spat him out as another manager as well. He almost got us over the. We brought in all the young players early in the window last season. And it looked like, okay, well, brilliant, we've done some good business, right? Let's get the experienced guys in. And then they never arrived. And then the guy started the season, you could tell he was completely shell-shocked. He didn't know who he was speaking to. The club was an absolute mess. So, in a way, you've got to sort of feel sorry. I mean, listen, the football was pissing everything in the end. I agree with Kerr, I know, but I'm saying we didn't give, we're speaking about Lampard, Kerr, we didn't give Comont the tools properly to be able to attack the job like last season as he should have been given, and it could have all went tits up 100%. But you need whoever the manager is, you've got to give him the tools. I mean, Ancelotti comes in and you give him 5 players, we're not going to be doing anything with 5 players. It needs to be, you need to back him to the hilt.
I agree with you, but just one Clement. The last thing I'll say about Clement is he's his own worst enemy.
Aye.
He spoke nonsense. The second season he spoke nonsense. And even in the first season coming to end it when the league was kind of over, he started saying when I came in they weren't fit, blah blah blah. He was always looking back, he was never looking forward, and then apart from when he's saying, right, I'll get these players in, we'll see a better team in October, and then it'll be November, and then it'll be February, and you're like, no, he lost it at one point, and when he lost it he should have went, but never sacked him soon enough for me.
Yeah. Do you know, I think I always say this, and you see, there's always sliding doors, little moments here, there, and everywhere that change. If we'd won the League Cup with that dodgy decision, which apparently things may have changed, things may have been different, but we are where we are now, and we'll never know. I want to pick up some of the last 5-10 minutes, pick up some of the other things that's happened over the course of the week. There's been lots of academy departures, so I'm not going to recite them all because I think there's about 12, but I suppose the ones that were Adam Devine, Cole McKinnon, and Archie Stevens are probably the 3 most well-known ones, but I think there's about 12 of them go. Good luck to them. I suppose I don't really know if there's much else to say. I've never seen them enough. I don't know how they never played enough. They're hopefully going to make good careers elsewhere. Some of them may even come back at a later date, depending on how well they do. But it's a sign of the times that we're certainly moving a lot of players on to meet this kind of new model.
I think Cole and Archie Stevens are probably 2 I was surprised about. Adam Devine, I think, had his chance. I don't think he was going to ever be good enough. But I think I still think Cole's got something on as a player. I think he'll go somewhere in a really good career. I hope he does, because I think he's a really talented boy. And Archie Stevens is the same. It's just sometimes, you're right, Gary, sometimes it's a wee bit of luck to stay at a club and maybe their names, they just maybe thought there were other guys here, maybe a wee bit a year younger, maybe with more talent, or they could bring in somebody else. So good luck to all the boys that left. Hope they get a club somewhere, but especially the two, Alex Stevens and Coleman Cummings. I think they're two quality footballers, and I think they'll get a club and they'll go elsewhere and do a very good job.
Aye, and I you'd agree, Ricky.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. I don't know what, I mean, we need to get the academy sorted out, but that's a Scottish football problem. I don't think it's just a Rangers problem. It's that you could have a full podcast on its own. Robbie Fraserback's an interesting one because I was disappointed. He's done brilliant as loan, so he's one that I would like to see back at pre-season.
He's older, Jeff, isn't he? He's older.
Yeah,
Jeff,
but he's good. He's a good player, man. He's a good player, Robbie Fraser. Right, the left backs. I mean, Yilmaz gives you absolutely nothing. Yefty plays with the lights switched off. So give the Scottish guy a chance and give him some appearances and see what he can do. It's sometimes we're our own worst enemy.
He's only got a year left as well. He's contract. So if he doesn't do well this season or he doesn't get games, he'll be away at the end of the season for free.
And as you say, it's moments you get an opportunity and you can maybe get in there. There's lots of different things that happen. An injury, Yilmaz is fairly likely injured, so there's an injury and a fair chance you might get an opportunity. What else? Dessers scored his 30th goal of the season, Ricky, just very quickly. Lovely goal against Nigeria, for Nigeria.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful finish. Took it really well. I'm still annoyed that these guys are not on the beach getting a rest, to be honest with you. That's no Dessers' fault. This calendar's an absolute joke. But what a finish. And well done to him, mate. Well done. He's scoring goals. And listen, if Cyril Dessers comes back next season and is involved in a Rangers team that's playing amazing football, playing well, winning matches and is exciting, I will 100% take back every bad comment I ever said about Dessers.
Right, wait to clip this. I'm going to need time out here. Clip that one, guys. And then, so just before we come on, what I wanted to make sure and watch Willie Collins' starring role in the Bar Review this week. So if you've not seen it yet, he was on the show was on a couple of hours ago. I suppose the big talking point was the Nico Raskin one. So basically, what he said was, and if I'm going to paraphrase it, but you can't say it was definitely over the line. He did think it was probably over the line, but can't say it was definitely over the line. And that wasn't really bothered about the fact the ball actually bounced on the line after it was cleared. That wasn't relevant to decide as conclusive proof. So he kind of backed up the VAR officials, but more saying that, probably was a goal, but we can't prove it.
Nonsense.
Sick of him, man. Absolutely sick of him. Did you see the stats that came out about this season? About all the stats, like for the league, about yellow cards, red cards, fouls committed. I mean, are we just like going to put our fingers in our ears and our eyes and just cover our eyes and pretend that's completely normal? That like there's one club that's a complete anomaly that's like so far ahead of everyone else. You look at it with your eyes, and it's how every single stat. So well done, Willie. You've had a fantastic season. So but next season, they need to get a grip of that, because honestly, the guy's an absolute joke, and the show's a joke. And his apology to Rangers for me is just wearing too thin. And there was way too many decisions last season. I mean, the fact he's going on that show and saying you can't actually tell the ball was over the line. Honestly, I could tell you what I would get banned from this podcast if I could tell you what I know for a fact about Willie Collum, but we won't go there, guys. But I tell you what, man, it's absolutely shocking, and they need to get a grip of it, because it's blatant in your face.
Well, says Ricky, if that goal was scored by another team, there wouldn't have been that, definitely not over the line or whatever. It would have been totally different outcome. But that's Scottish football in a T, unless the rest of the clubs start backing up a review like we asked for years ago, and the rest of the clubs won't change, then it's always going to continue this way, because in the day, nobody likes us. I know that's a song we sing, but they don't. If that's against anybody else, they cry wolf for the moaning groan, and it happened to Dundee, didn't it, as well, and they were crying off about it, but nobody really says much. But I tell you, if it happens to another side, that's what you hear, and then the referee or whoever's in charge of that game ends up getting the sack. But Nick Walsh can get away with anything he wants, and he was even awful in that playoff final. Some of the decisions was making there was awful, but no, it's a joke. It's that much a joke's not even funny. But until there's change at the top, it's going to continue, and there's nothing we can say on this board. The club have to get the balls and stand up to it, and stop speaking against tifos, like I said earlier, and start speaking against referees and decisions against us that aren't fair.
Aye,
and every week, Patrick Stewart should be highlighting it every week. Don't let he should go on that show with Gordon Duncan, Patrick Stewart, man, the big Star Trek. Get him on there and giving it, okay, this decision was bad against 100%. Point it out, keep pointing it out because it's pathetic. I mean, cost us a cup final again. Cost us, how many league points did it cost us? Some of these decisions. I mean, penalties. Jesus Christ! I mean, a Rangers player gets kicked in half, and they've got to go to VAR to confirm it's a penalty. It's an absolute joke, and it needs to get better. And I know it's for every club. We're not sitting here going, oh, they're biased, they're this, they're that. But it's for every single club. But the stats don't lie, and the standard is. Every year you think it can't get any worse. We need to get VAR sorted out as well, Gary. Oh my God. Surely, like Kerr said, they can buy some more Ring doorbells and actually get a better product for VAR that we've got just now, because just now they're just guessing. The offsides, they're guessing. Football's moved on with this automated offsides and everything, and we're stuck in VAR from, I don't know, since it came out, the first ever edition, and it's absolute tin pot.
No, I'd agree. And what else has been happening then? So there's national games, as you say. So Suter, Barron, Raskin, Bajrami, Dethers, Igaman, Diamande, and Rabbi Matondo are all away in international duty at the moment, which is for the next 2 weeks, and then they come back. They've got a week and a half, 2 weeks holiday, I suppose, before pre-season. I'm assuming they won't come back for pre-season straight away. But there's what is it? It's that 3, 6, 8 players, 8 first team regulars, 8 potentially. Apart from Rabbi Matondo, obviously.
Clutching at straws there, Gary.
The manager will probably want them back. He'll probably, depends on the new manager, man. He'll want them. He's probably that first day of pre-season. He's going to want to hit the ground running. So, I mean, it's not his fault that these guys are away playing international. So I wouldn't be expecting. You look at in the past when Pedro was cancelling people's stag do's and weddings and stuff like that, and he wanted them back for pre-season. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same thing. That's just the way it is at
people
Rangers.
stag do's and saying go on caravan holidays.
Exactly. Yeah, mental. And then I suppose we've got the pre-season fixtures announced against Club Brugge and Middlesbrough at Ibrox. So that's all 2 it's been announced. I'm assuming Tav's testimonial probably will be announced soon against Leeds, given the fact he's a Leeds boy. That might be his testimony. But there will be others. I mean, joking aside, there will be others.
There'll be one ticket sold. That'll be you, Gary.
I'll buy all 50,000.
No.
I just walk around the stadium.
Gary's a mascot for it. I'm standing next to Tav. All right, Tav.
Celtic's taking 20,000 for that testimony.
There will be. I mean, I'd imagine there will be other games announced, because I think if I remember rightly, that one of them's on the 7th of July, and then that's the only game currently announced before the first Champions League qualifier. So I'm sure there will be more coming before. I don't imagine.
Yeah, but we're going down to what's it, something park?
St George's or something.
St George's Park, England's
really good. They're really good facilities here, by the way. I have to say,
it is really good. But I'm surprised we're going down there. I suppose the weather's a bit better down there, right enough. So it's actually, I don't know why. Probably because of all the upheaval and stuff like that. It's difficult to go abroad with everything that's going to be going on. So it's probably a smart decision. So I mean, it'll be everything going forward now, Gary. As long as they don't appoint Russell Martin, it's going to be exciting. You know, everything's going to be exciting, and that, like today. Get that feeling back, like that excitement back. It's just nice to have that again, like supporting your football club, have a bit of hope again, be excited for pre-season. The videos will come out of the players training and we'll all be watching them on Rangers TV. And so, no, I just can't wait. Let's get going. And it's going to be brilliant. We don't need to wait that long. It's only going to be 3 weeks and the players will be back. So bring it on.
Hopefully 3 days for the manager.
Hopefully, I imagine next week. And then Scott, so we've also announced who our Champions League qualifier opponents will be. I'm now trying to remember who they are off the top of my head. Panathinaikos, was it Bran?
Servette
again. We played before. So football's just finished, but we're already looking at who the next opponent is for a game in
Nice,
6 weeks time.
Fenerbahce.
If we get through the first one, and we do need to get through the first one. If we don't go through the first one, really struggling financially, potentially.
Listen, I think whoever you get, it's going to be difficult because it's just the start of the season, isn't it? I mean, Ricky mentioned Manuel, and I think doesn't matter who you get, it's going to be difficult. And if it is the Greeks, Ricky, you back up the road, you can maybe fly across to Greece and watch it, couldn't you? But
of course.
But no, it's going to be difficult, Gary. And so hopefully the team are back training, that they're back setting, the manager setting, and we've got a couple of new faces through the door, because it doesn't matter who we get. We can all turn around and say, I wish we had beaten them, but sometimes these things don't happen.
And you never
And
know, we
Gary,
bet on
the Champions League is the Champions League. This is what it is. Even Celtic's going to have it. They've got a playoff game. It's tough. It's when you don't get in automatically. It's absolutely brutal. The time of year these games are. You're going to countries that can, like you're on about Greece. Greece will be 40 degrees, man. The players, like the young players, like if you're a ginger playing in 40-degree heat, you're just going to end up being a puddle of a mass on the ground at the end of the 90 minutes. So these Champions League games are always difficult, and so there's nothing there that's like unexpected that you're thinking, okay, well that's a surprise. So the next season they'll be the same. The season after they'll be the same. You see the Champions League, they're making it more difficult. They want that to be a closed shop with the big leagues and the dribbles of nothing else. You can see that. It's horrific. Absolutely.
Don't call it a Champions League, that does, man, and just call it a European League.
It's horrific. It's horrific to see.
So, Scott, the European League final is on Saturday then, is that right? If I was to call it that, against Inter versus PSG. I was going to say football draws to a close, but it doesn't because the Club World Cup starts 2 weeks later or whatever it is. So, football never draws to a close now. So, in terms of the Champions League final, just your thoughts. You're looking, who do you want to win? Who would you like to see be the crown?
I said a while back PSG because I thought they were playing the best stuff and I enjoyed watching their games. Last night I didn't watch many games, to be honest with you, but I watched their games for some reason. I thought they played really well, and I would say they were a wee bit fortunate against Aston Villa at one point, but the rest of the games have been really good. So I'd like to see them winning it, but for some reason I can see it just because Napoli win the league. They're going to have a bean in their bonnet. I think, well, if we didn't get the league, so we're going to get this European Cup. Now, and they're a decent side, by the way. Don't let anybody else tell you different. I watch a lot of Italian football, and they're a really good side. Napoli were fortunate, but to win that league because it could have went either way. But I hope PSG win it, but I think Inter will.
Same with me. I'd like to see PSG because I like the front three, but I think Inter will win it as well. Ricky?
Me, exactly the same. Full house for all three of us. I want Inter to win it. I saw a brilliant interview with Jose Mourinho, and he was getting asked about them like not winning the league. Was he sad? And he's like, no, I was happy because I want to be the only manager that won a treble at Inter Milan. I was like, mate, what kind of statement is that? So he was wanting them to win, but I'm not a big fan of the French for many reasons, but I do like PSG. I think they've got some good players, and finally a manager that's built an actual team rather than all the other garbage. But I'm not a big fan of the French, so come on, the Italians, especially. But
probably another reason is Ricky for what Lewis Enrique's been, what he's been through personally.
Aye, I know.
I'd like to see him getting that just because of what he's been through. I watched an interview with him and it was really sad. I mean, it was bringing tears to your eyes, but I have to say, just for him, I like to see him win it.
And if it wasn't for the fact we're coming to the end of the pod, we could have another discussion about the French and President Macron and the video that was released. That was
Ricky hates frogs' legs.
That was worth seeing alone, wasn't
it? We will never.
And that's a whole different story. Well, and what was the story? He met her when he was 15. She was like 30 odd or something. I don't know. It's a bizarre story, but anyway, that's a.
He met who? Was it met her? He met him.
She's like 20 years older than him, and I think he was like 15 when they met.
Strange, man. He's a strange man. He's a strange. The French are.
Listen, all people in politics are strange.
Oh, they are. They are. Right.
Don't say you don't get back culture and different things other than Rangers on this podcast. We're covering all sorts here.
We'll be getting sued by the French government in a minute.
Somebody's asking, do I think Czerney's worth 9 million? No, I don't think we'd spend 9 million on Czerney, to be fair. He's not his age. 30-odd year old. I mean, I think when it was like 6 million, you could see us spending that, but no 9 million. When it's getting 9-10 million, I can't see us spending that on him, to be honest.
No. And
I will say, before you go, Gary, I will say, I think Raskin will be away by all accounts. He's rumoured.
Yes.
Teams are in.
I'll help you more than Herbie Spintav leaves.
I'll be lucky if Raskin leaves because I think he's got so much potential. He can only get better. But
me too.
If Tav leaves, I'll buy you a drink, Gary, to drown your sorrows.
But I tell you what, Gary, if Czerney and Raskin leave, then Jesus Christ, man, we need 11 new players because they were the only 2 decent players in our team, man. So what we're going to We need to get some new.
Tierney's a good player, but there's a million players in the world. There'll be other ones that will come. I wouldn't be too worried about one that goes away and one goes somewhere else. I think that's
a younger version of him would be good. A younger version that's actually that scores goals and assists. That's actually, I would love to see a young team. I want to see a young, hungry, new, fresh team is what I want to see at Rangers. 100%.
So, final thing then. So, two final things. One, congratulations to the women's team. I suppose we won the double, won the cup during the week. I think they won it quite convincingly against Glasgow City, and obviously the week before they threw away the league. So, but still, they won the two cups, and we're right to congratulate them on there. And then I suppose there was a question I seen earlier when I came out. It might have been Andy Mack. We'll finish this. How much do you think Rangers will actually spend in the summer, Ricky? Just give us a figure.
Yeah, I think it's an impossible question to answer, but I'll say 35 million, but that's where player sales and then us spending. I'll go 35.
Scott, what do you think?
I'll probably say about 25, 30. I think it just depends who's available and also what we bring in. Because I think if we can get a few players and if Raskin does leave for anywhere to about between 7 and 9 million, I think they'll invest that all. So that's taking you up to about 30, 35 million.
And it's not about Gary. Like we've said about this with the Leeds, they brought in 130 million at Leeds, and then they spent 30 million, and the Leeds fans couldn't believe it because they spent 30 million, and the players that they brought in were 10 times better than the players that they let go for an absolute fortune. So it's not about how much money you spend; it's about getting the right pieces, young team, hungry team on the park. It's not about when we spent money in the past, Bajrami and all that. I mean, okay, we can't be scarred by that, but it's not about like bringing in players that are 5 million, 6 million. That means absolutely nothing nowadays. It's about finding the right players that are the right profile for the manager to be able to put the team that he wants on the park. That's the most important thing. No, if we spend 10 million. And we're competing with Celtic, I'll be a lot happier than we spend 40 million and the league's over by the time the split happens. So it's more important that we get it right rather than just chucking money at something and thinking that that's going to solve all our problems, because it's not.
No, 100%. And the fact that Man United, if I don't remember the numbers, says at 1.7 billion or something, they went backwards year on year. So spending money doesn't guarantee you anything like success. Getting a good coach, good structure, and getting the right players through proper scouting is the things that will do it. And that's. And then winning games brings confidence, and confidence brings more wins, and so on and so on. And that's football's worked for decades upon decades, and it'll still be the same as we go into next season. So we're back Monday. We're all back Monday. What's happening? We're just going to wait till next Friday unless anything happens.
It's up to you two. If you come back Monday, but if there's no manager being announced, then we're going to be talking about what we kind of went over. And I don't want to be keeping repeating myself, and you two are probably the same. So we can. That's what I pause for. Just listen to anybody else, they can just repeat themselves. Well, listen, if there's news, we can come on and talk. See if there's any news, we just wait till Friday. But if a new manager gets announced, Ricky could do a special himself and do a rant for 15 minutes because he likes to rant.
Russell Martin.
I know, my God, Jesus, pass. So what? Just before we go, I saw a video today of a match and Haaland scored 9 goals in this one game when I think he was like 20 or 21 year old, right? And you see him playing for City. Pep is he's destroyed in that City team. He runs around and they never create chances for him. It's absolutely pathetic, man. 9 goals in a match, right? And it's just mad with these managers how they can just ruin these players with just pass. So that's my only gripe with Russell Martin. I don't want a manager that's just pass the ball to death.
Well, football's changing, Ricky, right? That's how I like Enrique at PSG. It's not always all pass. Sometimes he's more direct. Whereas that was the style maybe 10 years ago with Barca, the great Barcelona sides. But football evolves. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So sometimes you go back to what people didn't like.
4-4-2.
It's just 4-4-2 direct, long ball, Wimbledon style, Tony Pulis style. Do you know what I mean? That's the way things happen.
It's an interesting one. See, you're talking about Russell Martin as an aside just before we finish. You talk about Russell Martin or whoever comes up league. Who's come up this year? Leeds, Sunderland, and who's the other one? Burnley. The one thing I'll say about Scottish teams, right, and you'll be critical of what they do, they park the bus, to use that terminology, And potentially some of these teams might be better if they actually come in and started playing some of those styles in the Premiership. They might actually have a better chance of success.
I think that's how Stokes survived for so long, Gary, under Pulis, because he wasn't pretty to watch. Everybody hated his style, but probably similar to Dykes at Everton, they all hated his style, but he made it physical. He made teams feel in a game, and he was just direct. And he was just long ball at times. Granted, it's not great to watch, but if you come up for the Championship, you can keep yourself in the English Premiership for a couple of years. You get more money to buy better players. And that's what it's all about in the day results. Not being pretty. Some people say I'd rather look good and lose, I look bad and win. So I'll look bad and win myself.
I've got my principles. That's what they say in it. It's my principles. Don't Mark Robert and Plan A, do Plan A better and all that stuff. It's all that nonsense. And that's probably why they've often come unstuck. So it's been another bumper edition, but it's not every day you get taken over by a large American consortium, and success is on the horizon for the first time in many years, hopefully. Scotch Heads will be back on Friday with another edition, unless anything happens during the week that we need to come together as a group and talk to you all. So if a new match is announced Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, before Friday, we may do a show. But other than that, at this moment in time, the plan is to be back on Friday. Have a lovely weekend, everybody. Please like, share, and subscribe, as we'd always ask you to do. And thanks for the comments. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you again soon. Take care.